What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover Original Show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to this Friday edition of the Vover Sports Card Show. I am your host, Hrelja. Today, we discuss the massive hobby news that dropped yesterday, possibly the biggest sports card news of all time, crazy drama going on in the industry. We go through it all. I want to explain to you my thoughts, what's going on, as well as why I think you should overall be positive about the situation. So yesterday afternoon, Darren Rovell, as well as the Wall Street Journal, broke the news that in 2025, when Topps' MLB license for trading cards expires, that it was not going to get renewed, as Fanatics is going to start to have an exclusive agreement. And this took over the card world. Everybody was talking about it, going crazy, because Topps has been selling baseball cards since the iconic 1952 set. And with Topps already losing the basketball and football license over the last decade, with Panini now having it, we're now looking at Topps as not having any of the licenses for any of the major sports, when Topps is the company that from the 50s through the 70s, they were the monopoly in the sports card market, and there's so much history in the brand. But that wasn't the only news, and the news got even more crazy when the reporting shifted to it's not only the MLB, but the NBA as well as the NFL have also signed exclusive agreements with Fanatics to give them the licensing deal for trading cards. So it wasn't only Topps that's getting kicked to the curb in 2025, but we're also going to see Panini no longer being able to sell their basketball and football products, which dominate the market right now. And I think there's a lot of people that are worrying about the negatives in the situation without really considering the positives that could be at play. I think people aren't really looking from a macro perspective of what's happening to the sports card market and why it's being set up at the moment to be so much bigger in 5 or 10 years and truly being part of sports culture. I think this presents so many opportunities, and I find it so funny that the same people that complain about Topps products, the same people that complain about Panini products all the time, are the same people that are saying that the hobby's going to die just because these manufacturers aren't selling sports cards anymore. There's a few takeaways I want to have from all this. Obviously, there's tons of breaking news, but there's a few main points that I want to hit that are super important. Now, obviously, Panini and Topps, as it currently stands, when their active licensing deals are over, they're done and Fanatics is going to take control. However, it's still completely possible that the Topps brands and the Panini products don't die out and that Fanatics just acquires the companies or acquires the card brands, like we saw happen when Topps bought Bowman in the 50s, like what we saw happen when Panini now owns something like Donruss. Donruss was its own separate company back in the day. And I think if we're looking at Topps as an individual company, they're much smaller than Fanatics. And Fanatics won the bid because they were able to pay more. And the MLB offered Topps to match the deal, but they just couldn't afford what Fanatics was willing to pay for the exclusive rights. So I still find it completely reasonable that what Fanatics does is they buy up the brands that have made the hobby, where they end up buying the Prism brand and Optic and Select and National Treasures and possibly Topps Chrome. And maybe we find ourselves in a situation where, as it currently was, we only have Panini or Topps representing the major sports. Topps has baseball, Panini has basketball and football. So when we look at the basketball card market, there's no longer Topps Chrome. All there is Prism. And I hear people all the time complaining, oh, I remember back in the day when there was Topps Chrome basketball and Topps Chrome football. That was so amazing. Well, what if Fanatics acquired both brands and sold both products? I think that would be super cool, and I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibilities. Panini and Topps as overall companies are going to get crushed by this. By Fanatics taking this exclusive deal, they're probably going to be able to buy both of these companies for pennies on the dollar. I also think a major takeaway from this is that when you read what happened in these exclusive deals, the players' associations of the NBA, NFL, and MLB, all three major sports organizations, they're getting equity in this new parent company owned by Fanatics that's going to be handling all sports cards. So this means that these major sports leagues are going to have a vested interest to make the sports card market grow. If we're watching commercials during NBA games or the advertisements happening in arenas, they're always talking about Fanatics and buying merchandise. What if we now see people trying to sell trading cards and they get NBA players to be talking about cards more? Whenever I see athletes getting involved, they love it. I think that they would really enjoy doing some marketing stuff with sports cards. We saw with Top Shot, the NBA having their own interest in that. We saw it be discussed on ESPN. We saw players tweeting about it. It was all the rage because the NBA as a whole was getting behind it. Right now, the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, they're not really getting behind trading cards that much. Maybe they do some sponsorships and promos, and we have stuff like the NFL and NBA photo shoots for the rookies be presented by Panini, but outside of that, there's not much going on. I think these major sports organizations are understanding the opportunity in the sports car market, how much money there is to be made, how much people love it. And I think all three of these players associations now having a stake in the company that's controlling the entire sports car market, they are going to be highly motivated to put in front of the consumer. And I would not be surprised if we're looking 6 years from now when these licensing deals go into full effect and we have Zion Williamson on the Jumbotron at the Pelicans games talking about trading cards and talking about the new basketball cards that just released. I don't find that crazy. I think when things like these start happening, we truly talk about sports cards tapping into the overall sports market. I always say, what percentage of people that partake in sports betting actively trade sports cards? And it's not that many. And I continue to use that as a reference for why I believe the sports car market has so much room to grow. We look at the National this year. Compare that to the National 4 years ago. I think that with major players getting involved, these major leagues having a vested interest, being motivated to grow the market, I think we're going to see the sports car market continue to grow in terms of eyeballs because there's so many sports fans that just don't know about it right now. And look, there's potential negatives as well. I would hope that with this situation, obviously the distribution involved with trading cards is going to be different. So hopefully hobby shops don't get cut out of all this because right now they were having deals with distributors to get their products from Panini and Topps. So hopefully your local card shop still gets the ability to have distribution and to be able to sell product directly, because local card shops have a massive role in the card community. And another negative concern I hear from some people right now is that they believe that some of the cards that they're collecting in terms of the brand and the releases, they're not going to be relevant in 10 years if it's completely new product from Fanatics. So if we're talking about a blue prism at a $199, that's now become one of the most popular prism parallels, or gold prisms, or natural treasures RPAs. So what if Fanatics completely switches everything up and these cards aren't relevant anymore? And I would say to that, look at what happened with the big upper deck releases. Look at Topps Chrome Basketball. Those releases, the truly iconic players, the really cool cards that people love then, people still love now, and there's the nostalgia factor. We have a whole generation of people who collected Topps Chrome Basketball. Topps Chrome Basketball was from 1996 when Kobe was a rookie to when Steph Curry was a rookie in 2009. When we look at Prism Basketball, it started in 2012 when Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving were that first-year rookie set. And now we have the release with it being now 2021. It's going to happen for at least a few more years, even with this licensing ending. So it's going to be similar. And if we look at the Topps Chrome prices for guys like LeBron, Kobe, Tim Duncan, Steph Curry, those prices are really high. If we look at Exquisite RBAs, that's no longer released, but those still sell very well, even though the product is now National Treasures instead. So I think that's kind of an overstated concern at the moment. My overall thought process on all of this is that there's probably a lot of things that are going to still develop that we don't know. I have a feeling that Panini and Topps aren't just going to be obsolete in a thing of the past. I do feel like they get acquired, or at least the branding gets acquired. And I also think that when we see major companies getting involved with the space, it should make us confident. We were always complaining about how the major marketplaces couldn't handle demand and that there wasn't true infrastructure in the space. Now we're looking at all these major companies that we've seen in the card space grow. They've all been acquired by real major players. We look at CSG Grady getting involved, who is involved with comics. They're now into sports cards. That's Jay-Z and Blackstone that's funding that. We look at PSA, Collectors Holdings, ran by Nat Turner and Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets. That's real money getting involved. We now seeing Fanatics getting involved. The biggest player in the sports memorabilia and apparel space. They now directly hold the sports card world. We're looking at who's running this Fanatics division of sports cards. It's Josh Luber, who founded StockX, the massive sneaker trading card platform. From my optimistic point of view, all I think that's going to happen with all these companies getting acquired, obviously now with the breaking news about the licensing changing, my hope is that all that happens is that we continue to see more money invested in the space and better infrastructure. But at the exact same time, us in the hobby, we need to be vocal and we need to be telling Fanatics that we really love some of the products that we currently have. And we don't want them to completely shift up everything and give us something that we don't want, because at the end of the day, this community is built upon collectors. The hobby is really built upon people that truly love sports cards. It's a community of people who are very passionate about the industry. And it's a hobby that has so much history and tradition involved. And I hope Fanatics realizes this. So I appreciate you listening to this Friday edition of the Vover Sports Card Show. I am your host, Frank Hrelja, and I'll be back again on Monday.